Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from the intellectual idiots to everybody tuning in to our episode today. We are releasing a little bit later on a Wednesday, so I hope nobody is turned off by that. But we got a fun-packed episode for you today. We got some really special guests lined up for the next couple of weeks that we're super excited about. We had Peter Bukowski on last week, so if you haven't listened to that episode, make sure you tune in. But the intellectual idiots are cooking.
We got some more Packers podcasters coming on, some local Lambeau Field venue people. So we're super excited.
We'll keep it a surprise. Don't want to disclose too much, but we got that coming up. So make sure that you tune in for not only this episode, not only the last episode, but for the next couple episodes coming up and all of our episodes going forward. But we're gaining in subscribers on YouTube. We're gaining in followers on Spotify. So we thank you all, and we encourage you to subscribe on YouTube and to follow us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on wherever you get your podcasts. But ultimately today we got a fun-packed episode. We're starting off with some what's hot, what's not from the intellectual idiots today. We're rolling in, kind of discussing about the Packers' path to the playoffs.
It's looking decent.
Having some debate.
For what we were thinking. We were thinking it was true. But, I mean, it's obviously with Mike's face, like, there's not like a real chance, but we're still going to go through it.
And ultimately, and then closing it down with our top 5 all-time favorite Packers players. So let's get this rolling. What's hot, what's not? How about we start off with the kid? No, you know what? Let's start off with the kid that sounds like garbage. Stally Mike over there in the corner.
Stally Mike's a little sick. How you feeling, bud?
Little sick. He's hanging in there, though.
We've had a little rotation of sickness. Max, and then it was me. Now it's Mike.
Now it's Stally Mike.
Yeah, you know what it was? It was strep throat. So I'm on my antibiotic.
Dude, that's worse than I had the vid, and that was nothing. So strep is way worse. I am sorry, bud.
No.
We're on the up and up, though. So let's start off with what's hot. It's going to be my fellow short king, Lionel Messi, and Team Argentina making it to the World Cup finals happening next week against France.
Yep.
It's going to be a great matchup if you're a soccer fan.
You're calling it right now that France is going to win this game? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I got to go with the short
before the game. France plays today against Morocco.
Yeah, they're going to be playing France. So I had the prediction, I believe, a couple of weeks ago about, I don't know if it was Team USA going into the knockout round, and I was correct. So congratulations, France, but you're going to be knocked out by Argentina. So.
Well, let's hope the nation of France does not see this video before the game today somehow, because this is a true jinx, and I hope it is a jinx.
I hope whatever Morocco, you say,
I hope
I'm
Morocco wins.
France.
Morocco's going to win now.
You know what, Mike? You owe an apology to every single Argentinian fan out there. Like, this is – or every single France fan. Sorry. You owe an apology to every single fan of France and to the entire country of France. All right? What you just did was the ultimate jinx.
I respect it. I'm not a huge fan of when I was in France. I had a really bad time when I was there, so –
I got a call from Emmanuel Macron, which is France's president, and he said, "You know what, Mike? I like your confidence." He texted me right now.
Ballsiness.
Okay, all right, moving on.
Okay, I have a very interesting what's not, and that is the economics of Santa. So there has been an actual real life Santa shortage going on. Mall Santas, sometimes Santas will show up to work events or whatnot. There has been a very high demand since the uplift of COVID where there's more community events where they want to see Santa, but there's just not enough of them. Wow. I saw there's a statistic. Here's an actual thing called the International Brotherhood of Real Bearded Santas. Their membership has gone down from 2,000 to 1,400.
Wow.
So we're at an all-time low in supply and an all-time high in demand for wanting Santas. So
we got to get more. Maybe we got to become Santas.
We got to grow some beards and grow some guts.
The intellectual idiots take on the malls of America. So it might need to happen. So, Michael, that's a beautiful what's hot, what's not. Very interesting about the Santa economic depression that we're in. Let's head on over to Gutsky.
What's hot? I got 2 what's nots. 1, what's hot for me. What's hot right now? Most definitely, I just saw a stat today. The Lions started 1-6, and since that 7-game skid, they're 5-1, and they're pushing for the playoffs. Obviously, alongside the Packers. I just thought it was super interesting seeing, the complete turnaround of the season. Like, their offense is looking like a juggernaut. I still really like Dan Campbell as a guy. I'm not saying I like the Lions, but you got to give them the props where it's due. I mean, Dan Campbell, he's an absolute crackhead out there with some of those those decisions he makes. But I mean, it's working and they're winning games, so they've got to be my what's hot for this week. You guys got any thoughts on the Lions?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, it's really impressive what they're doing over there. I think Dan Campbell was actually one from being on the hot seat to being he's coach of the year contender. So
locked in as their coach.
Yeah, he's coach of the year contender. I mean, he's really worked himself there. He's done a lot with a team that I think a lot of people had a lot of expectations for this year. So, good for Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
And who they just got back that looks –
Jameson Williams.
Jameson is back, and he scored a tutty in his first –
1 catch, 1 touchdown.
That's like Christian Watson stats right there.
43-yard touchdown, I think it was. But so that was interesting.
What's not?
Fly, golf, fly.
What's your what's not, Ty?
What's not? Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Very sad.
Yeah.
Tore his ACL. Brutal play within 3 plays of the game. Done for the year. I mean, it was nasty. Cliff Kingsbury, he's clearly done. He's gone. I mean, the Cardinals are just
a mess.
Absolute down spiral right now. Colt McCoy looked awful when he came in for a relief with Kyler Murray. It's sad to see a franchise. I mean, they're just in absolute shambles right now.
I almost think that having Kyler Murray injured might save Cliff Kingsbury for another season.
No,
because
I don't.
They're in the same situation as the Packers right now, barring their loss. Like going into that game, they were in the same situation as the Packers.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but
yeah, it's the history though, Mike. Cliff Kingsbury's been there, and they've failed every year under him.
He's supposed to be this offensive guru, and unlocking Kyler Murray and the potential of this offense. Like that's supposed to be a specialty. They're ass. Their defense is ass. They're not winning games. He looks. I mean, like
I agree with Ty on this one. That's yeah.
He looks like a deer in headlights out there, just constantly bucking up in decisions, and I don't know. I think he's the number 1 coach in the hot seat, besides obviously Nathaniel Hackett. I think.
Thanks for your comment, though, Mike. But you're wrong.
Yeah, Mike. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say that you're potentially wrong.
Hey, I have a voice for the voiceless. Okay.
Good.
There you go.
There's some Cardinals fans out there that like that, but Max, we're not moving on yet. I got one more. We're going to mention this. Mike, me and you were going to mention this a few weeks ago, but we somehow forgot to mention it. I'll keep it short. I'll keep it sweet. The FTX founder finally had a bad day. I mean, somehow he was just escaping this whole fraud of, defraud, like basically stealing billions of dollars, and just they don't know where the money went. I mean, FTX completely is gone. All the money's gone. His Alameda research is gone, and now he got arrested. I think it was 2 days ago in the Bahamas.
Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yep, Sam Bankman-Fried, just in time for the holiday season. He's going to be spending Christmas in the Bahamian jail. I mean, this dude is an absolute scumbag. He completely manipulated, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people into, out of money and spending it on lush real estate, vacations, shit like that. They had their own damn cult. This guy is an absolute fraud. So Sam Bankman-Fried, number 1, what's not in the world right now. It's really hard. Like, I just hate the guy.
And you know what's interesting, Ty? Like, to feed off of that, I think he's been, publicly interviewed by multiple people, and he
testified in Congress for crypto regulation, and then he was also the second biggest donor. He used all this funded money from the people. He was the second biggest donor to the Democratic Party for Joe Biden's campaign, which is it's just baffling to me. I think there's going to be something big that's going to go down with that.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how he's trying to play off as if like I had no idea this stuff was happening.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, guess what? You went to an Ivy League school, and both of your parents happen to be law professors. I think you know a thing.
He knows exactly what he was doing. He's playing the innocent card. He's playing I don't care about money. I just want to donate it all back, and I don't care about that. Yeah, screw that. That is not true.
Sorry.
He gets me heated. It gets me heated. I hate him. I hate that whole thing.
Wow. I mean, he is a scumbag, but he's rightfully deserved, probably getting absolutely killed in prison. So anyway, we'll move on. So we are moving on to me. What's hot, what's not for me. Yep. So I got two what's hots. My number one what's hot is Brock Purdy.
Oh, yeah, you got to mention
the San Francisco 49ers. Good for you, kid. The last pick in the NFL draft going out there starting in what very well is a very well
Mr. Irrelevant.
What is very well a very well coached system, I must say. I think a lot of quarterbacks could see success in the 49ers offense, but credit to Brock Purdy. He controlled the game. He controlled the ball. And really he did a very admirable job stepping in. And when a lot of San Francisco fans were in some panic with Jimmy G going down, they have some hope with Brock Purdy to kind of lead them the rest of the way until Jimmy G gets back. My second what's hot, the Milwaukee Brewers getting a huge signing with William Contreras. I will tell you this right now. Statistically, that is one of the biggest wins of a trade of the last decade. The Brewers, for any team, dude, the Brewers out-fleeced the trade by like 40 points that they gained from it and 3 points that the Athletics gained.
How are we defining these points? Can you tell the audience?
I have to I thought I took a screenshot of this. Let me see if it's still on here. Oh man, it's not still on here. But I gotta DM a contact for that because I thought I took a screenshot of that, but I guess I might have not. But anyway, statistically it was shown that the Brewers literally had one of the biggest wins of that trade of the entire summer. It was like, here it is. The Brewers get. So I'll show you. Can you guys see my screen?
No, we can't see shit. Just explain it.
Okay, so it said via baseball trade values, the Brewers acquired 38.1 total value points and only gave up 4.9. You can't even validate the trade because of how unbelievably unfair it is. And then you go back and look at.
I'm just confused. Why would the Braves make a trade like this?
It's not just the Braves; it's more the Athletics that got fleeced because it's a three-way trade. Okay. So the Athletics sent Payampas to the Brewers, and the Brewers got Yeager from the Braves and William Contreras from the Braves. William Contreras is an all-star. He's 24 years old, and he's a career .278 hitter and had over 20 home runs last year and made the All-Star game. He is an all-star. The Brewers are getting an all-star and two very good relievers. They needed a catcher and relief pitching. They got an all-star catcher and two solid relief pitchers, basically giving up Esteury Ruiz, one of the center fielders that we got in the deal from the Hader trade. So ultimately, the Hader trade, in the end, we gave away Josh Hader and ended up getting some of the guys that we ended up moving around. But this kind of goes to show you in the MLB that not all trades come full tuition or full circle when they first happen. Yeah. So we flipped a couple guys that we ended up getting from Hader, and look at the reward that we got. We got an all-star catcher, two very solid relievers. In the end, the Hader trade doesn't look so bad after all because some of the pieces that we got, we ended up flipping around and ended up getting a lot of returns.
Sure.
So, there ends up coming full circle. I think a lot of people were really down on the Brewers. I know I was. I was really frustrated getting rid of Hader, not really doing a whole lot of action at the deadlines and whatnot. And here we are, ending up with an all-star catcher and two unbelievable relievers that are going to boost our bullpen significantly and help out Devin Williams in the back end there. So that trade makes us competitive again. I think it puts us right back into the mix of potential suitors to win.
I hope we make some more trades.
I think we're a bat away. There's some rumors that we're trying to sign third baseman for the Dodgers.
Josh Donaldson?
No.
Turner.
Yep. Josh Turner. So we're trying to sign him. So let's see how it turns out. But the Brewers right back into the mix of things. They're in the what's hot. My what's not. Grandpa Tom and the Buccaneers. Listen.
Todd Bowles, hot seat.
Dude, Tom Brady is so done. Like, it's like even the wins that he's had and, like, the NFL analysts just, like, being like, oh, Tom Brady, because he's, like, coming back and having to beat, like, the Saints and the Panthers and the scum of the NFL. They lost to the Panthers, actually. But some of the horrible teams that they've had to just squeak out last drive wins to because they've only had, like, 13 points. They're, like, bottom 3 in the league in scoring. Their offense is terrible. Tom Brady looks horrific. Their receivers can't catch. Their offensive line is bad. They're a train wreck. Their defense is bad. I love it. I can't stand the Buccaneers. I'm happy that they're struggling. Tom Brady needs to just call it. He's done.
He looks like he doesn't give a
D-O-N-E.
He doesn't care
done.
anymore. Like he's just he's just out there pissed at all times, and he's just like, I feel like he's given up.
The thing is, though, what's your goal at the beginning of the season? It's to make the playoffs. Who's the leader of the NFC South?
He'll probably make the playoffs, and then he'll probably somehow squeak his way into the Super Bowl.
I'm not so sure that they're going to make the playoffs. What's kind of funny is all of a sudden you look at it, they're only a
You see
game
their
ahead.
division, Max?
They're
You
only
see their
a game
division?
I know, but they're just as bad as the Falcons and Panthers. In my opinion, they can barely beat any of those teams. They lost to the Panthers. The Panthers have the tiebreaker with the Buccaneers right now. If the Buccaneers lose one more game and the Panthers win one more game, the Panthers are in first place in that division.
Yeah, I mean, right now the standings look, 6 and 7 Bucks. That's insane. They're in first place. Their point differential, 224 points for, 254 points against. That's insane. Panthers 5-8, Falcons 5-8, Saints 4-9. That is such a disgusting division. My goodness.
That's been the NFL East for years. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting over there. But let's move it on. We've spent some time on the what's hot, what's not. So let's talk Packers, right? Another team that kind of finds themselves in this awkward position. But right now, I was looking at this on Twitter. Right now, if the Green Bay Packers win out, and I sent this in our college group chat this morning, Tyler. If the Green Bay Packers win out, they need New York or Washington to lose 3 out of 4 games. Either one of those teams, it's fine. Whatever one.
It doesn't have to be
Michael,
both.
you laugh, but Washington plays the Giants, the 49ers, the Browns, and the Cowboys. So they're losing to the Niners and the Cowboys.
Say that
so
again. Say that one more. Say that one more time.
Washington plays the Giants.
Giants. Okay, let's go through that. Giants are a solid team right now. Saquon's hurt, but I mean it's potential.
But next week the Giants and the Washington play each other. So one of them is already one step forward. Like one of them is going to lose. So ultimately, then we got Giants and Washington. So they play each other next week. So one of them have to lose, right? They both have to lose 3 out of 4. Or one of them has to lose 3 out of 4. So.
Oh, boy.
So the Washington plays Giants, 49ers.
49ers are going to lose.
Browns.
Watson,
Toss-up.
maybe he'll be doing well at that point.
And then Cowboys.
Cowboys are rolling.
They have nothing to play for in the last week.
Not true at all.
Oh,
Not
they're
true
going
at
to
all.
lunch that 5 seed.
They're not
They
going
can
to
still
overtake the
fight.
Eagles. They're not going to
You never
overtake
know.
the Eagles.
There's 4 games left in the season. The Eagles could lose a couple, and the Cowboys could be right in it.
I don't think there's a statistical chance from what I
Yes,
remember.
there is. The Eagles
Yeah, I
could
guess
lose
there's
3 out of 4.
12-1,
The Cowboys only have 3 losses. The Eagles have 1. They're only 2 games behind the Eagles.
That's pretty sad. I was talking to my roommate who's a big Cowboys fan. He's just absolutely pissed that being a Cowboys fan, they're going to be 10-3 right now, and they're going to get a wild card spot. Like that's pretty bad luck.
With him, he should be happy that the ridiculous joke of a Cowboys made the playoffs. He should stop worrying about the 1 seed and focus on just getting into the postseason for the Cowboys. The Giants play the Commanders, the Vikings, the Colts, and the Eagles.
Okay, so I mean, Colts are ass, but maybe they'll pull a lucky win there.
So we need one of those two teams to lose 3 out of 4. And I think that we have a chance. 100% it could happen. It could definitely happen. That is not out of the question. There are some good teams that both those teams play. And then Seattle has to lose 2 out of 4.
So do all these things need to happen, or one of them need to?
So the Giants or Washington have to lose 3 out of 4. Either one of them. It doesn't matter.
And then
Seattle has to lose 2 out of 4. And they play
on top of one of those two teams.
Yes. And Seattle
Seattle's the key.
Mike, why are you laughing so hard? This could
Mike,
happen.
What's going on? You've been smirking all episode like we're doing something wrong here.
You're not.
What? So wait. So Mike, do you think that it's feasible for the Giants or Washington to lose 3 out of 4?
It's not. I'm more concerned about the Lions.
Well, we only, but at that point, that can't even be a concern of ours because we would have to beat the Lions to win out. And if we don't win out, it's not even a question, right? So we play the Lions week 17.
The last week we play the Lions.
So Seattle has to lose 2 out of 4 as well, and they play the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Jets, and the Rams.
Well, they're going to win against the Rams unless Baker Mayfield.
They only need to lose 2 out of 4, and they play the Niners, Chiefs, and Jets. That's tough. That's really tough. So I mean,
they've been falling a little as of late. Their rush defense, I saw a stat. They've flipped from one of the best rush defenses, I think, and now their rush defense is just flopped, and they've been losing. I think they've lost 3 in a row because of it, and Geno's still cooking, but I think that's a possibility.
So now we went over that. Can somebody pull up the Packers schedule?
I got it up.
I have
it. This week, we got the Rams. Monday night, December 19th. I'm hoping, I can't say it's a for sure win, but I mean, it's looking good for us. Dolphins next week, December 25th. At one point I had said they're my Super Bowl team, but they've kind of – Tua's been exposed a little bit lately. He's kind of looked not great. Tyreek Hill is hurt. I mean, he's been laboring a bit with his ankle. Going into 2023, January 1st, we got the Vikings who are, we've talked about it time and time again. We think they're frauds. I think we can take them down. Lions, I'm worried about that matchup. They are absolutely rolling right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the NFL. So, I mean, there's a chance. We play some good teams, but we're really going to have to show up.
So the Packers, statistically, if they do win out, they finish with like a 64% chance to make the postseason with how it statistically plays out. Again, Mike is going to come from a realistic standpoint. Mike's going to come from a realist standpoint, and we need to hear that. So, Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
Tyler and I are more optimistic. Mike, let's hear the realist side of your view of all this breaking out. What could happen, why it could happen, and what you think is going to happen.
All right. So, from how it stands today, as opposed to predicting the future that we can't predict, the Packers have a 2.1% chance of making a playoff seed spot. We are 2.5 games out of the 7th seed, and we are tied for 10th place in the NFC along with Atlanta and Carolina.
Mike, I'm seeing that the Packers' playoff chances are 11.7.
I'm seeing
that's the stat that I have right here.
Well, we'll have to fact
Packers news source.
Where are you?
Max, what is your news source?
That was posted. It's Matt Scheidman, Packers Insider, and that's 2 days ago he posted that.
All right, mine was also from 2 days ago. Interesting. I just really have trouble. I know we need to win out. That's what we can control. You have to focus on what you can control first. Beating a banged-up Rams team, it's nice that they don't have Cooper Kupp that could expose us.
They don't have anyone. I mean,
they're
John Robinson's out for the year. They don't have Stafford. They don't have anyone.
I think that Monday Night Football game, if we can win by more than 8 points, will be a good bearing on how we're going to do against the remaining games. if we squeak out a win against the Rams, I'm not going to be totally convinced that we can show up.
I agree with that, Mike. I agree with that.
The other thing that had me pretty nervous are the Lions. Is this just them getting lucky? I don't know, but they're getting healthier. Jared Goff looked very good against the Vikings last week. And their strength of schedule for the Lions, they played the Jets with, we don't even know if Mike White's going to play or not. The Panthers, weak.
Jets have the best defense in the league, though.
True. That's
Keep in mind
true.
that. The Jets do have the best.
49ers are the best.
Second best, sorry.
Yeah,
Second best.
49ers are
second or third or something like that.
Passing and rushing. The Bears, which I don't know if the Bears have given up this season. They were a little bit feisty a couple weeks ago, but I just don't know with Justin Fields being like he's playing, but he doesn't seem like they're doing as many designed QB
Yeah, I
routes.
just saw a designation today for him that I think he was limited in practice and he's questionable for Sunday.
And week 18 against the Packers. That's going to be a fun game if the Packers win their first three and we go to a Lambeau Field showdown against the Lions.
Boys, are we going to – damn it, I was going to say we should go to that game, but I will be gone.
Okay.
Mike, do you want to go to that game?
Yeah, I'd love to go to that game. Not this one. Not this one.
Mike, let's say that if the Packers end up getting to a point where they win their next three, let's go to that Lions game. Deal?
Deal.
You're gonna have to rip $500 for it.
Yeah.
Fine by me. Time to let her rip. But, okay, Mike, go on.
So that's just kind of what I wanted to say. From this point of view, we need a lot of help. And that's something you don't necessarily get help. You want to control your playoff destiny. First, we need to go 4-4, which we haven't won 4 games in a row at all this year yet. I know LaFleur is very good in December, statistically, from the past. But you got to focus, win those 4 games, and we'll see if we get help from our NFC buddies.
Yeah, I mean, we got to root for the 49ers on Thursday night. Niners Seahawks. So we'll see.
Come on, the Purd.
We gotta hope that the Niners can figure out a way to win that game. I think it's in San Fran, so I could be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure it's in San Francisco. So we got to root for that game, and then we got a game where we got to root for somebody to win against the Washington and Giants. Like somebody's got to win that game. They tied last time. We cannot have a tie.
Max, you're an ass talker. It's in Seattle.
Oh, it's in Seattle. All right.
You know what?
Well, at least they do play each other.
Can I make one comment? I was watching a little bit of the 49ers-Patriots game last week. It just clicked to me. The San Francisco 49ers do not play in San Francisco. They play in, like, San Jose.
Really?
Yeah. Someone fact-checked that on me. But they do not play in the city of San Francisco.
Really?
So that's the only comment I had.
It's Santa Clara.
Santa Clara, sorry.
Which is?
Not San Francisco. It's like south.
Oh, yeah, it is kind of far, honestly. That is interesting. But speaking of playoff odds, I just pulled up the New York Times as of 2 days ago. It is different than both of your percentages. Mike, you had said 2%. Max, you had said 11%. I split you guys down the middle with the New York Times, 6%. That's our chance to playoffs based on 190,000 simulations. So we can say that our Packer chances range from 2 to 11%. In between there, whatever you want to call it, somewhere between 2 and 11.
All I know is that if we keep winning, we give ourselves a chance. So let's go, Pack. Let's win out. We're all rooting for you. Some encouraging things from the inside that I've seen. Our offense has scored over 28 points the last 3 weeks. That's encouraging. Christian Watson has emerged as a ginormous threat to defenses. We get Romeo Doubs coming back. We're healthier than we've ever been. We got our much-needed bye late in the season, but we got a much-needed bye. Our team got rest. We got time to prepare. I mean, we're as ready as anybody, I feel like, for these last stretch of games. So I think if our defense can manage to play decent, these next 4 games, I think it gives us a legitimate shot. So let's win out. Let the chips fall where they may. Let's go Niners. And then, come on now, Giants and Commanders keep losing. So that's what we got. Let's head into a top 5 to close things down today. Tyler, you seem anxious.
So
let's start.
I went with the top 5 best players of all time for the Packers. I thought that was what we were going with.
Oh, I went with my favorite, so it'll be a little bit of a difference.
We've already done our favorites. But, okay. I'll start. Don Hudson's got to be number 5. Undisputed hero on the Packers, 3 NFL championships, 36, 39, and 44. He was also the first ever 1,000-yard receiver in NFL history. Max, we got to practice there through St. Norbert baseball. We practiced at the Don Hudson Center. He's got a building named after him. Absolute Packers legend. Receivers really aren't ever in the MVP running, but Don Hudson was multiple times. One of the most prolific Packers of all time, regardless of the position. Next up, number 4, got Reggie White, the greatest Packers defender of all time. I don't think you can ever really beat him in that sense. 68.5 sacks for the Packers. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He was an absolute force of nature. Such a fun player to watch. Tragic ending to his life, but he's my number 4. Number 3, I got Brett Favre. He's just the definition of football. I mean, he held every major statistical passing record in NFL history, passing yards, passing touchdowns. He was beloved because of his character on the field. Obviously not as much anymore. Finding out a lot of what he's done to get to where he is, a lot of shady stuff. He's still one of the most electrifying quarterbacks in my opinion. He was so fun to watch. So Brett Favre is my number 3. Bart Starr, number 2. He's earned MVP honors. How many did he win? How many Super Bowls did he win?
Not sure.
Bart Starr. Mike, are you able to pull that? Fact check me on that. I'm not sure.
I want to say it's 2.
He was one of the best leaders, one of the best signal callers in his era. Starting out football, he was the best and most important player that Vince Lombardi ever coached. He earned MVP honors both in Super Bowl I and Super Bowl II. So I'm trying. Was it 2 Super Bowls?
He did win 2 Super Bowls. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously that was a different time era, but it's Green Bay wouldn't have had their dynasty in the 60s if they didn't have Bart Starr. So, I mean, it's tough to not have him in the top 5, and I'd say he's probably number 2. And then number 1, I mean, it's hard to not say Aaron Rodgers. Obviously he could have done more. Probably should have more Super Bowls, but he still, has one of the greatest TD to interception ratios in NFL history at 4.83 touchdowns to 1 interception. He's won multiple MVPs. He doesn't really turn the ball over. He's arguably the most talented quarterback in the history of the NFL. He's top 10, top 5 all time, and I feel like every category. He's also the longest tenured Packer player in the history of the franchise. So like we talked about before, just got to keep winning. And, maybe this is another way for Rodgers to cement his legacy even further with making the playoffs and making a run for the Super Bowl.
Let's go. All right. I'll take it second. Tyler, that was a great list. So make sure you write that down. I hope you have that down so we can post that on Instagram. But number 5.
Are you going with best or your favorite?
Best.
Okay, good.
Number 5, I have Jordy Nelson as the 5th best Packer player of all time. Unbelievable player, so fast. It's funny, so much of his game is similar to Christian Watson's. His breakaway speed, his ability to get open, his red zone presence. I mean, Jordy Nelson and I feel like Christian Watson have a lot of similarities in their game, and it's really fun to I miss seeing Jordy Nelson suiting up as a Green Bay Packer every week. Number 4, Brett Favre. I think it speaks for itself what he's done for this organization and, kind of what he's meant to the Green Bay Packers. He can sling it. He can throw an unbelievable amount for yards and touchdowns, and he can also have a game where he throws 5 picks. You kind of don't know what you're going to get with Brett, but He was an unbelievable player and, a Packers legend. Number 3, Reggie White. So Reggie White is my number 3 overall Packer. Just a force to be reckoned with. RIP. Unbelievable player. I didn't get to watch Reggie White play in my lifetime, but I've heard nothing and seen just incredible highlights of him. Number 2, Charles Woodson is my number 2 overall Packer player of all time. Charles Woodson was a difference maker in so many ways. You don't see a whole lot of defensive playmakers like Charles Woodson in your life. A guy who could make tackles behind the line of scrimmage, sack quarterbacks, get interceptions. He could play safety. He could play cornerback. He could play slot corner. He could play linebacker. It really didn't matter where you put Charles Woodson on the field. He would make a play, and he'd make it happen. Whenever you needed a big play, he was the guy that the Packers would turn to, and he would do it time after time again. And my number 1, without a question, there is zero debate to this. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest Packer to ever play in a Packers uniform. What he has done for this team is unbelievable. Management has done him a disservice over the course of his career. He should have 5 Super Bowls. He should have 6 Super Bowls. He should have arguably as many as Tom Brady. If our front office were to ever give him a defense, we would be talking about a guy who could arguably be the greatest of all time. Aaron Rodgers, the way he can put a ball in a receiver's hands like nobody else, the way he can throw at all different angles, the strength of his arm, his ability to elude pressure and extend plays,
defense.
Touchdown to interception ratio, touchdowns, passing yards, everything. Aaron Rodgers, hands down, greatest Packer of all time. Mike, close us down, big boy.
Yeah, I want to do an honorable mention to Curly Lambeau. No, Curly Lambeau, the founder of the Packers in 1919, and then I believe he was like a player/coach for a couple of the seasons. He ran the ball, he passed the ball, he pretty much did like whatever he wanted to do, which is kind of cool. He was a Notre Dame alum, so got to give props to Curly Lambeau and whatnot based on what Lambeau Field is named after. So I want to go with my top 5 Packers, right? That's what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
No, your top 5.
You had to ask that after our last 10 minutes?
Yeah, my top 5 favorite Packer players.
No, we've been doing best Packer players.
My top 5, my opinion, best Packer players.
All right, Mike is going against the grain. He's doing what he wants.
Number
Mike
5.
has been disqualified from winning already.
You are
5,
off the list.
I'm going with Booth Lustig. He was a Packers kicker in the 1969 season. Came to replace an injured Mirko Mercer, I believe. We got him from the Bills. He was 12 for 12 on extra points. Unfortunately, he was only 1 for 5 for field goals, but he was a mid-season replacement that we really needed. So, Booth Lustig, number 5. Number 4 is going to be Taco Wallace. Not sure if you guys heard of him or not, but he was a receiver for the Packers in the 2005 season. He has a really cool name, but he only played in 1 game for the Packers and he didn't catch a pass. But just to have the name Taco, he was a standout. I think he went to college somewhere out in the West. So it's pretty cool, I think. So Taco Wallace. Number 3 is going to be Vi Sikahema. He was a Packers kick returner in 1991. He was a 2-time Pro Bowler beforehand. He led the Packers in kick return averages and yards, I want to say, that season. So he was a really good acquisition that we had in that 1991 season, as we all remember. Fun fact, he is the first NFL player to ever play he was born in Tonga, which is like some Polynesian island north of New Zealand. And he's also a Mormon. So, interesting. Number 2, I'm going to go with Baby Ray. He was the all-famous, all-pro tackle for the Packers from 1938 to 1948. His real name was Buford Garfield Ray. So, Baby Ray was just a nice nickname he had because he was an awesome tackle. And finally, this one could actually be, a lot of accolades. Thank you. It's going to be Alvin Forrest Gregg. He was our tackle in 1956 and also from 1958 to 1970. He was inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1977. And Lince Lombardi said that Alvin Forrest Gregg was the, quote, finest player I've ever coached. So hats off to you, Alan Forrest Gregg, RIP, died about 10 years ago. So that completes my top 5 best Packer players in history.
All right, Mike, thank you for another useless list.
Thanks for really providing that valuable resource to people. I'm sure they'll love it.
I'm sure that they will love your intelligent list. So anyway, here we are. We have concluded another episode of the Intellectual Idiots. Please subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Please listen into our podcast. We appreciate the support. Tyler, want to take us down?
Good episode, boys. Pod out.
Pod out.